Hey there guys, I'm TheRoyalGorilla and today I'm pretty ill, but I'm not going to let that stop me bringing you my complete rundown of hopefully all of the Easter eggs in Assassin's Creed Origins. As always, I will mainly be focusing on those Easter eggs found in the game's open world, so that rules out any story-based Easter eggs, so don't really worry about spoilers. Just before we start, I just wanted to plug my second channel a little bit. It's a bit of a vlog channel and there's some really unique stuff over there. So if you enjoyed today's video, go check that out. I'm sure I've got something you'll enjoy. Right, shilling out of the way, let's get started. What's the first thing that you think of when you hear ancient Egypt? Mummies? Pyramids? Well, if you ask me, I'd say the Brendan Fraser mummy movies. Well, our first Easter egg has nothing to do with that because it's a reference to Indiana Jones. I'm not even quite sure why I wrote that bit. A reference to everyone's favourite mass murdering archaeologist can be found in a cave at this location. When entering this cave, you'll hear Bayek say,
"Ah! Snakes again! Why did it have to be snakes?"
This is a reference to a very similar line spoken by Indiana Jones himself.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Some of you may remember, a little while ago, Final Fantasy XV had a crossover event with Assassin's Creed. All your favourite characters like man with spiky hair and lady. Look, I'm not going to pretend that I know the first thing about Final Fantasy. But what I do know is Easter eggs, and Assassin's Creed Origins has an Easter egg to mirror Final Fantasy's Assassin's Festival. So all you'll need to do is head to this location just outside of Memphis. Here you will find a bunch of ruins, but climbing to the top of this pillar will bring you face to face with a carving of some familiar characters. That is in fact Ardyn on the left and Noctis on the right. Since there was a crossover between Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed already, it seems only right that Origins returned the favour. Egypt is full of different locations for you to discover and explore. Some of these locations take the form of stone circles. There's a whole quest series that revolves around these and you can get some really cool rewards for completing them all. But what we're here for is some of the dialogue you can hear while using the Apis stone circle.
Papa, what is best in life?
To seek justice and truth. To live with honor. To protect the weak and the poor. And to love your mother.
My friend CONAN said it was to crush our enemies and to hear the lamentations of their women.
We are Magi, son. Not barbarians.
That line is a direct reference to the CONAN the Barbarian movie.
Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women. That is good.
I fucking hate being ill. For many, I'd imagine that ancient Egypt would be your favourite historical era. I know it was mine for a time, so if I had the ability to travel back in time, I don't think I'd turn down the opportunity to take a look at Egypt in its glory days. Well, it seems that everyone's favourite time-travelling doctor wanted to do just that, as you can find the Doctor and his famous TARDIS tucked away in Egypt's underbelly. If you want to find this for yourself, all you need to do is head to the middle of the river, just by Letopolis. Finding the TARDIS is as simple as diving to the riverbed, where you'll be able to find it, albeit looking very stony compared to its regular blue. Now, sadly, however, it seems that the Doctor has finally met his end, as a corpse can be found hanging out of the doors. Aside from the stony appearance, it's a pretty spot-on model of the TARDIS, and definitely one of my favourite Easter eggs in Origins so far. The Orgy is one of Origins' most popular Easter eggs, for good reason as well. Sex sells. Essentially, the Easter egg entailed peering through a window at this location, where inside, you'd see an orgy taking place. Makes sense, right? Well, just before I got around to recording that Easter egg myself, Ubisoft went and released a patch, and what do you think fell victim to that patch? Yes, indeed, the orgy Easter egg was removed. But that's not the end of this story. In its place, Ubisoft created an equally interesting Easter egg. Now, if you peer through the same window, you'll see a man getting whipped as punishment. This seems an awful lot like Ubisoft are punishing maybe us or whoever created this Easter egg just for looking at it. At least it's a clever way of getting rid of it, I suppose. So those of you who have been around on the channel for a while will no doubt be familiar with the seemingly endless number of totally unique Dark Souls Easter eggs in modern gaming. Well, looks like Assassin's Creed Origins wanted to join in on the fun. You can find this Easter egg in the ruins of Kino, which is here on the map. Now, don't say I didn't warn you, but there are some pretty high level leopards here, so if you're a lower level, you may want to hold off on going to seek out this Easter egg. Anyway, to those of you who do brave the big old kitties, in one of the ruined houses will be a sword in an ash pile. This is once again a reference to the Dark Souls bonfire, something which at this point is all too familiar to us. Do you know, sometimes I just wish there would be a unique Dark Souls Easter egg. I've lost track of how many games have this exact same one. There must be someone over at the Ubisoft offices who's a fan of the Game of Thrones series. Well, to be honest, I'd be more surprised if there wasn't. But it seems that Game of Thrones has managed to sneak its way into Assassin's Creed. There are actually 3 Game of Thrones Easter eggs we're going to be taking a look at. First up, Arya's famous sword can be purchased from vendors. While this version of Needle is not a sword but rather a spear, the item's description of "stick 'em with the pointy end" makes this clearly a reference to Arya's blade.
What do you want with this?
It's called Needle.
A blade with a name. You know the first thing about sword fighting?
Stick 'em with the pointy end.
The second Easter egg can be found at this location. Once you've cleared out all of the guards, head over to the table and examine the note. This will speak of a wall in the north. A pretty clear reference to the Game of Thrones mighty wall. Okay, so finally for the Game of Thrones Easter eggs, there are a bunch of high-level mercenaries in the world looking to chop you into little pieces. One of these mercenaries just happens to be called The Hill. Perhaps a subtle reference to the Game of Thrones character, The Mountain. The Assassin's Creed games have always had pretty heavy biblical undertones. The franchise's entire narrative is essentially a creation story. This is no different in Origins, and with the game being set far in advance of any of the others in terms of time period, this gives us a really interesting perspective on many of these biblical images. Take this Easter egg for example. Heading out into the desert, you'll have a chance to encounter a number of mirages. Now this happened to me in this location, but they're not specifically linked to this one place, as they're more based on time in the desert rather than specific locations. You'll know you found it when you encounter an audio and visual cue that will lead you directly towards the hallucination. The one we're interested in speaks for itself really. You can witness a burning bush, an image ripped straight from the Bible. As you approach, the fire will extinguish itself, leaving a pristine tree bush thing. but then when you approach, it will also disappear. It's long been confirmed that Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs take place in the same universe. Whether that's people playing the Assassin's Creed games in the first Watch Dogs, or the Assassin's Creed movie posters appearing in Watch Dogs 2. But what we're interested in today is a mission that takes place in Watch Dogs, in which Aiden Pearce is tasked with assassinating Olivia Garner, the CEO of Abstergo Entertainment. Now, jumping back into Assassin's Creed Origins, heading out of the Animus, we'll be able to find an Easter egg referencing this very mission. On Layla's laptop, inside the Olivia Garner folder, will be some CCTV footage from Chicago. And yes, you've guessed it, this shows none other than Aiden Pearce assassinating Olivia. There's a really quite beautiful cyclical nature to this Easter egg, and for that reason, I think it might be one of my all-time favourites. Right then, now it's time for my favourite part of these videos. It is, of course, time for a lightning round. Senyu can do a barrel roll. He'll even get dizzy doing so. You can change Bayek's hair and beard in the gear menu by holding down either trigger and pressing Y or triangle. Whenever you walk through tall grass, Bayek will run his hands across the top of the grass in true Gladiator style. Speaking of Gladiator, a side quest references the iconic line from the film.
Are you not entertained?
In the middle of the desert, at the bottom of a pool of water, you can find the remains of a whale. So, there we have it, guys. That was hopefully all of the Easter eggs in Assassin's Creed Origins. I do really apologise for how ill I sound. I hate sounding like this for videos, so I'm sure you don't really like listening to it. Anyway, if you did enjoy today's video, I'd really appreciate a like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, and if you want to help me make more of this content in future, back me over on Patreon. All the links are in the description. I've been the Royal Gorilla. Over and out.
His name is Luke and he's more than your average gamer. No ordinary let's player. Know about Easter eggs much better. Da 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 da. His name is Luke, aka the Royal Gorilla. Even bigger than the giant Godzilla. Follow him in every game he goes. Da da da.